Hi, hello everyone. I'm Justin. This is Koopa. Welcome to Koopa's Corner. Today we're going to talk about the debut of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. It's this upcoming Monday, January 6th. Uh, this past Monday Night Raw was the final Monday Night Raw on the USA Network after 30 something years, right? 1993 was the first episode of Monday Night Raw. And they ended on a really high note, but they ended building towards the debut next week, right? The debut next week is being treated almost like a PLE, right? And the rumor going around on the internet is that people backstage are referring to it as, quote, WrestleMania adjacent. And we can tell by the card that they're advertising, right? It's a massive, massive card. This is absolutely huge for the WWE. So let's talk about it, right? So a couple things happened on Raw last night. We got CM Punk and Seth Rollins face to face in the main event, right? Hyping up to their match. They're going to go one-on-one next week. We got a little hype package for Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. We knew that match was going to happen. They're advertising it as this has to end. That's what they both kept saying in that video package. So this finally could be the big blow off to their feud. We know John Cena's going to be there, right, kicking off his farewell tour. We have Tribal Combat with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And after last night, we have Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso, and we also have the finals to the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament. So we're going to crown our first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion. All of this is going on next Monday night on Raw on Netflix. So what a huge, huge night it's going to be. So let's break it down. Let's talk about each of these things a little bit more specifically. And I think that the night will start off probably with John Cena, right? I could just imagine it. The fireworks go off. Michael Cole welcomes us, and John Cena's music hits instantly, right? And Raw has a tendency, they like to start off with a promo in the ring anyway. And we don't need to build towards the main event because we already have one. So this would kind of be able to sort of fill that usual Monday Night Raw flow and give us something huge. I mean, a name like John Cena right at the top of the show is going to hook people in. It's going to keep people watching, right? So John Cena is going to kick off his farewell tour. Now, this could go a number of ways, right? We don't know what John Cena's first feud is going to be. We don't know who his WrestleMania feud is going to be if the two are the same. We don't know what the rest of the year looks like, right? I've got a video on my channel already I made before, the top 5 opponents that John Cena should face in 2025. And check it out. I'll link it at the end of this. I stand by what I said in that video, right? I think that John Cena should feud with each and every one of those people. But going from the debut, it could, be as simple as he declares himself for the Royal Rumble. It could be as simple as the return of John Cena's, open challenge. It could be him calling out either Cody Rhodes or Gunther, saying he wants championship number 17, and that could be a feud that starts this upcoming Monday on Netflix and carries us through WrestleMania. So this might be one of the most open-ended segments of the night. But it's really going to paint the picture for John Cena for how this farewell tour is going to go, and potentially up through WrestleMania. So I personally would love to see an interaction with Stone Cold Steve Austin. John Cena should absolutely chase that number 17 championship, but I don't think that's the WrestleMania feud, right? I'd rather see a big dream match, while we have the chance. It's the last chance ever. Another match for the debut of Raw on Netflix was the finals for the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament on this past Raw. Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria both won their respective matches, and they will be facing each other next week. Now, I very much am a big fan of the fact that they didn't have Io Sky win and proceed to the finals. I like that they don't have necessarily some of the bigger names in the women's division going after this. The same thing with the Women's United States Championship. These championships should be used, at least at first, to elevate some of the women who don't always get the opportunities. Now, either one of these women could win, and both would probably make a great champion. I personally would rather see Dakota Kai win, right? I'm a little bit more familiar with Dakota Kai. I saw her wrestle back in NXT a little bit, and she's been on the main roster for a bit longer. I stopped following NXT some time ago. I don't really know Lyra Valkyria, aside from the few matches that she's had on the main roster, and she hasn't had many on the main roster. They haven't done much with her. Now, she seems like a hell of a performer, right? But I'm not as familiar with her, and I think Dakota Kai is somebody who is criminally underutilized. So I think that Dakota Kai would make a great first champion. But if it's Lyra Valkyria, I'm excited to see what that opportunity holds. Now, going forward, what this means, I think that we realistically could see the return of Becky Lynch here. She would make a great rival for the first ever Women's Intercontinental Champion, and it would give her a storyline reason to return, right? There's a new title. I've never won it, and I want to win it. It's a simple story, but it is enough motivation to lure her out of, retirement, as Liv Morgan likes to say. So, yeah, that would be great, but if not, if Becky Lynch returns to pick a feud with the winner of, Liv versus Rhea, that is also on the table, but we may see Becky Lynch return. I don't know that we will. She's not being advertised to return. But it's the type of huge surprise that WWE often saves for important events, and she's a big name. She's a big name to have on a big show like the debut of Raw on Netflix. Let's see what else. Oh, they mentioned or advertised for the first time, announced Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. Right, this should be pretty solid. Jey Uso is hot with the live crowds, man. He is on fire right now. He's got a lot of momentum. And Drew McIntyre is coming off from just an absolute all-time year. Drew McIntyre had one of the best years in his career and in a lot of people's careers, right? And a lot of people don't get the kind of year that Drew McIntyre had in 2024. Now going forward, right, this match could go either way. A lot of these could, right? A lot of these could, but that's kind of not the point of this. I'm predicting Drew McIntyre will win. Drew McIntyre is a little bit of a bigger name. He's coming off of a big loss of a feud with CM Punk. And it'll be a bit harder for him to bounce back from a loss than it would be for Jey Uso, right? And it's just as easy for Solo Sikoa or one of the new Bloodline members to get involved, which would set the stage for them to get involved later in the night in the main event, or Jey Uso to get involved later in the night in potentially the main event with Roman versus Solo. And it gives Drew a big win, establishes him as a big star. And Jey Uso, he's not going to suffer in defeat, right? This is a feud that will probably carry on. This will not be a one-time match. And therefore, it's okay for Drew McIntyre to win this. And not only is it okay, but he probably should. Right? So Drew McIntyre is my prediction. And both of these men will continue to feud going forward. I don't know if it gets us all the way through WrestleMania. But it could. It very easily could. Right? Especially if they don't actually have a match at like the Royal Rumble. They just kind of throw each other out, to kind of build the rivalry a little bit without having that other match. right? And the same thing, they could both be in the Elimination Chamber without having another match themselves. Great way to sort of build some heat for this feud and then have another match at WrestleMania. So very possible. Very possible. Um, what other matches have they announced? Well, we know that there's the women's world title match, right? Um, Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. This is a feud that has been going on for quite a while, and it's definitely one that has run its course in the mind of a lot of people. However, I don't know that it necessarily has, right? I think that the storytelling in this feud has stagnated a bit, and if it's going to continue, it needs a little something extra. But either way, if this is the blow off of the feud and the end of the feud, that's great as well. The way that the little promo package this past Raw was going, which it's like a 2 or 3 minute thing. Check it out on YouTube. But yeah, they kind of intercut both women talking about the feud, talking about the year that they've had, and they both on multiple occasions say this must end. So this feels like the blow off of this big feud, right? Um, Rumor has it that it's going to be a last woman standing match. I don't know if that's true. I don't think they announced that on Raw, but that would be great to have a big stipulation like that. Either way, expect Mommy to finally put Liv down for the 3 count and to reclaim her women's championship. If this is truly the end of the feud, this ends with Rhea Ripley holding that gold right in the air. Um, this could potentially be where Becky Lynch returns to set up another feud with one or both of the women. We also could see a cash in. Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton. Right? They've been teasing and teasing and teasing all this tension with Nia Jax, and it would be a huge swerve for her to show up on Raw. Now, I recently did a 2024 year in review for the WWE. I did a video on my channel, and I rewatched every single WWE PLE. I sort of binged it in the week and a half leading up to that. So it's all very fresh in my mind, and they teased Tiffany Stratton and Liv Morgan in the build to Crown Jewel, right? They teased it, and they also teased, Tiffany Stratton asking, does Dirty Dom come with that title? Because I could use a little dirty in my life. I think, and hear me out, it would be absolute gold if they told a story where Dom interferes or messes with the finish, only for Tiffany Stratton to walk out with the gold, right? He screws Liv the way he screwed Rhea. I mean, technically he screws Rhea one last time too, and he helps Tiffany Stratton out, and he could end up pairing with her going forward. Imagine the kind of heat he would have going from Rhea Ripley to Liv Morgan to Tiffany Stratton. I mean, everyone would consider him basically the luckiest man in the world. And Rhea could feud with Dom going out of this because she's tired of being screwed by him, right? If this would be particularly effective if she gets the pin on Liv first and then he screws her in the cash-in versus, it becoming a triple threat or something like that. So that feud could come out of this, which is a feud that I have long stated we need to see. We absolutely need to see Rhea Ripley versus Dominic Mysterio, right? If this happens earlier in the match, or if Liv wins, or if it becomes a triple threat, it could also set up then Tiffany Stratton versus Liv Morgan for the gold. You could still do Rhea versus Dom, but you could also have him still sort of play the same role he's been playing, just on Tiffany Stratton's side, screwing Liv Morgan. And watching Liv Morgan have her heart broken after breaking Rhea Ripley's heart, right? Having her home wrecked after home wrecking Rhea Ripley. Like, there's some sort of poetic justice in the way that kind of bookends itself. So I think that would be a really interesting and really great way to tell the story. Now, I don't know that they'll do that, but it would be, in my opinion, really fun. But yeah, there are a lot of potential options going forward with this. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right. John Cena, we've talked about him. Drew McIntyre, we talked about the Intercontinental Championship. We talked about the Women's World Championship. We still have Tribal Combat, Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns. And we still have CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Now, either of these matches could be the main event, right? I don't know which one's going to happen first. I don't know which one's going to be the main event. But I'm going to talk about Tribal Combat first, even though this has the potential to be the main event, particularly with Roman Reigns. He's never to be ruled out from the main event. But I'm going to save Seth Rollins and CM Punk as the potential main event. So we're going to talk about Tribal Combat first. This match has been a long time coming. After WrestleMania 40, when Roman Reigns lost the title to Cody Rhodes, he disappeared from television until SummerSlam. He returned at SummerSlam to find Solo Sikoa, having kicked Jimmy Uso out of the bloodline, having turned on Paul Heyman, having brought in Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu. He's got a whole new bloodline. And he's calling himself the Tribal Chief, and he's wearing the Ulafala, and he's demanding that audiences across America acknowledge him. Roman Reigns has fought hard to get some revenge, and a little bit here, a little bit there. But they really haven't explored too much, right? Most of the story has been focused on Roman bringing the OG bloodline back together. When we went through Civil War games, a lot of the story was focused on the tension with CM Punk. Now, finally, the story shifts. It shifts focus to be about reclaiming that title of Tribal Chief and regaining the Ulafala. This plays out in one of two ways, in my opinion, right? Either Roman wins and The Rock returns, or Roman is about to win and The Rock returns. I have a very, very hard time picturing anything else happening for this match. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but this sets up Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. This has to set up Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. It feels almost impossible to go any other direction. So I think that we don't know if The Rock will be available for WrestleMania, right? There's a long running internet rumor that he is not available because he is going to be off shooting a movie. But I have a hard time picturing anything else for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So, whether Roman wins or he's screwed out of the win at the last second, it's going to be because of The Rock. We're not going to see a ton of The Rock, or realistically a ton of Roman Reigns in the build between now and WrestleMania, but we should get some really explosive stuff when we do. And the match itself it's a dream match. It's not just a dream match, it's the dream match. So, that has to be what happens. It has to be, right? Guys, I don't know. But I have a hard time picturing anything else. Finally, last advertised match for the card is going to be CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Man, this match is being advertised as 10 years in the making. And, man, if you didn't see Raw this week, at least if you're going to see one thing, you got to check out the face-to-face confrontation that closed out Monday Night Raw, closed out the final Monday Night Raw on USA Network. And these two had an absolute just verbal beatdown of each other. They didn't hold anything back. It might have been one or both of their best promos, if not the best. I mean, it definitely should be considered up in the top 5, top 10, whatever. But it was, I mean, they didn't hold anything back, right? They didn't hold anything back. They took cheap shots from, CM Punk leaving the company, CM Punk going to AEW, CM Punk going on Colt Cabana's podcast and trashing the WWE. And conversely, or CM Punk, he started calling out Rollins for being jealous, for um, not having the balls to do what he did, to sitting here and wishing he could go off and do these other things, for being, Vince's, you know, one of Vince's guys, for being a kiss ass, for, towing the company line, for, all this. It was great, man. I'm not doing it justice at all. But they really, really made the hatred between them um, feel real, and they really amplified it and intensified it. And going into next Monday's Raw, it might be the hottest match on the card. Right? This is definitely a match that we thought we were going to get at WrestleMania. At least I thought we were going to get at WrestleMania. Not now. Not on an episode of Raw. I know that it's a big episode, but like, damn. Right? It's still an episode of Raw versus something like WrestleMania. That being said, where do we go from here? This feud does not end this upcoming Monday. This feud continues. Does it continue to WrestleMania? Maybe. Probably not. But we at least get one or two more matches. Honestly, this is one of the feuds that they could sort of meet, veer off, and kind of come back to, a couple of times throughout the year. It's one of those feuds that they can really, really exemplify their long-term storytelling. I mean, honestly, they even have the possibility, if The Rock is not coming back, for CM Punk to cash in his favor with Paul Heyman to have Roman Reigns take out Seth Rollins, right? To get another match between the two of them, right? There are options. There are possibilities, right? Some of the rumors online are that CM Punk is going to be facing potentially Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, for the title. And that'd be pretty good if it's true, but, we honestly could just continue with this feud and get Punk versus Rollins 2 or Punk versus Rollins maybe 3 by then, and sort of cap off the feud at WrestleMania. But either way, like, there are, again, a lot of options here. Normally, my predictions videos are much more concrete, much more, this is what I think is going to happen, and this is what it means. This is where they could go going forward. This upcoming episode of Monday Night Raw is so open-ended. And I very, very rarely feel that about a WWE show. I've been watching for a very long time. I have not just been watching, but, very religiously following, very intensely watching, almost studying. And they sort of trend in certain ways with the way that they tell stories, and that's not a bad thing, right? Stories are meant to be told a certain way, and you see it outside of the WWE as well. You see it across cinema, you see it across other television show, in novels, in comics, in video games. There's something about, having to overcome adversity, aka the bad guy winning in the middle, for the good guy to triumph at the end, right? It's a very satisfying way to tell a story. Not every single story has ever been told that way, but they trend that way. And it makes it a little bit easier to sort of predict, okay, this is the next chapter, this is the next chapter, this is the next chapter. We're at a point, guys, with this upcoming Monday Night Raw that I genuinely have no idea how some of these are going to play out. And that is when wrestling is at its most exciting. I am so pumped for this episode of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are as well. Let me know in the comments which match you're most excited about. I'm really excited personally for this main event match, right? But I'm also excited for the Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan match in particular. I think that's going to be great. I'm just a big fan of both of those superstars. So let me know what you guys are excited about. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like that. And guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.